So Ambra, you will tell me when we can start. Can I start? Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Niklas Oeser. I'm from FÖKO working for this project. Welcome back to our next session about the second part of the technical results from BIOFRUITNET. And we'll start over with the presentations now with my colleague Stine Jacobsen from UCPH in Denmark and myself. And about functional agrobiodiversity. Afterwards, we'll have another presentation on black cherry aphids by Clemence Boutry from FiBL, apple woolly aphid about indirect and direct control measures by another colleague, and then we have the organic farm knowledge platform for 10 minutes about where you can find the different results and materials from BIOFRUITNET. So I'll start sharing my screen. And we'll start with a presentation on functional agrobiodiversity. So let me just check the right window and we'll start with this one. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, Stine, so floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Niklas, and thank you for the introduction. So this presentation is about implementing functional agrobiodiversity in fruit orchards, and this is, I will start with an overview, and Niklas will follow with an example. All right, you can change, Niklas. Niklas is in charge of changing the slides. So first of all, when we talk about this functional biodiversity in orchards, we not only talk about species diversity, but also the functional characteristics of these organisms and how they are diverse. So it's also related to the distribution and abundance of these organisms. So the purpose of implementing this functional biodiversity is to promote the diversity and functions of the organisms in the agro-ecosystem for improved ecosystem services. And this is, for example, the pest regulation and pollination in the orchards. Okay, you can change. Yeah, so natural enemies are key organisms for pest control in the orchards. And these different measures that we will present here, they can enhance the abundance and diversity of these natural enemies and thereby increase the natural pest regulation. So important natural enemies of pests in orchards are, for example, predators. This can be ladybirds, hoverfly larvae, lacewing larvae, and so on. It can also be parasitoids. And also birds and bats also. And these are all really like commonly naturally occurring in the orchards already, but can really be enhanced by these different measures. All right. And change. And here are some examples of the different biodiversity practices that can be implemented in orchards. These are also examples from the BIOFRUITNET project and are recommended as best practices as an outcome of this project. So it's, for example, hedgerows, flower strips, cover crops, bird and bat boxes, insect boxes. It can also be these tree, alley, or border vegetation, and also orchard management can really, in general, support this biodiversity. Yeah. Hedgerows is another, or is one of the options of implementing this biodiversity. These are perennial structures, usually with the trees and bushes. So they can support by increasing the overall plant diversity in the orchards. And what is really a benefit of these is also that it's an undisturbed habitat. So they can also provide alternative prey when prey is more scarce in the fruit trees. In the season, they also provide herbaceous cover of annual plants, which is again like improving the habitat of these natural enemies. So if implementing these, the tree species should of course be considered carefully according to region and climate, and also according to not being a great host of some major pests in the fruit orchards. All right, you can change, Niklas. Flower strips is another option of implementing more biodiversity in the orchard. So there are different considerations in terms of these flower strips, but for example, the mixture of the flower strip should be as diversified as possible, preferably perennial, native species, and preferably a mix between herbs and grass species to again provide this more structural habitat. The plant traits are also an issue in the selection of these species. So this is, for example, the flowering time, to have as much flowering in the season as possible from different species, the flower type, whether it's open or closed nectaries, for example. So it has to do with access of pollen and nectar for both predators, but also pollinators, for example, and plant height. Again, it's also good to diversify in terms of structure of the habitat. Yeah. You can change, Niklas. Yeah. So cover crops is again another example. The most common cover crops in orchards are the grasses or grass mixtures, but diversifying these areas can again, as the flower strips and the hedgerows, provide resources for the natural enemies. They provide alternative prey, and they again also provide this structural habitat. So it's really on different levels implementing this plant diversity. These could also be of consideration for economic value, depending on what you implement. So finally, there are the bird and bat boxes and insect boxes. They can be implemented in the orchards to promote the occurrence and diversity of these groups. They as well contribute to the natural pest regulation, and they are considered easy and only minor time consuming to implement and manage. And if you even have a water source in the orchard, that is also really a good support for these. So this is another way of implementing, and a quite easy way to increase your diversity. Good. Thank you. And now Niklas will provide you with an example of this implementation.
Okay, thank you, Stine, for the introduction and the overview on the different measures. I'll now come to a more specific example for enhancing biodiversity in orchards by the example of anchor plants. So why we are talking about anchor plants, it's because we, at least in intensively managed orchards, we often lack of woody plants or woody plant diversity, and beside the fruit trees itself. So that means a lack of food supply, and also has some kind of aspect of a monocultural appearance, as you can see here, an example from the Lower Elbe region in Germany, which is very intensively managed fruit growing area for pommes fruit especially. And yeah, so about the definition, why we call it anchor plants, it's a quite easy answer. Anchor plants because these different kind of shrubs are planted on one or both ends of each tree row, as you can see here on the right, at that point where the anchors of modern planting scaffolds are located. So that's why we call them anchor plants. And well, I chose this example to show you because some of the other solutions which Stine was talking about are quite complicated to implement because, for example, for the flower strips, we are very, very dependent on the local original weather and soil conditions. These anchor plants might show one more easier implementation of a measure. So what kind of benefits you have when introducing these anchor plants in your orchards? We have on one hand the food supply with the flowers itself, of course, so nectar and pollen for different insects. We have the aphids and other insects which can serve as food for different animals in the orchards, and we have the fruit itself, especially in the winter for birds and so on. And also, what's another point we valued in the project was the visual aspect. So we had a farmer saying very clearly that this can serve for his farm recognition, and also the landscape variety and attractivity raises up. I mean, if you go through your orchards and there is something else blooming, that's one small but might be important factor. So about the plant selection, what to take in or carry in mind when you want to introduce these anchor plants in your orchards. The flower of these shrubs should possibly be outside of the fruit blossom period to not distract your insects from pollination of the fruit trees. You should not introduce host plants for common pests and diseases, which can infect your fruit trees. And also, if possible, choose varieties or crops with a long-lasting flower period. So the agrobiodiversity has a long period to get promoted by these different shrubs. So some plant examples for Central Europe, especially in Germany, where we researched this on measure about 6 years, are Ludnica xylosteum, Viburnum opulus, or Rosa pimpinellifolia. Choose if possible, native shrubs from your countries or from your regions, because you have like insects and birds and so on, which can use these different shrubs for feeding and to live. So just an example. And for the implementation itself, what you have to consider is especially protect against the game browsing, as you do with your fruit trees as well. This can be one problem. You should irrigate especially in the planting year, these young shrubs, and plant between late autumn and spring, as you do with your orchards and for normally as well. Also, there are some other different things you have to consider, like taking care of that your seasonal workers doesn't cut off or rip off these young plants because they maybe not know about their value or their sense and so on. And yeah, so very small, very short example of a specific measure in enhancing your biodiversity in orchards. You can find more information on this topic in the BIOFRUITNET PA, which was done on this topic. And also there are linked in the practice abstract some more information or sources to get information on these. And a new one, which is not linked there yet because it's very new, is the description of measures in a new magazine from a big biodiversity project in Germany, which you can find via this link. I can put it in the chat afterwards. So this was from our side about agrobiodiversity in orchards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Niklas, I think that very interesting also as an option. I think I would really underline this, let's say, attractiveness and the recognition. You know, the same was also for the living mulches in case of the white strawberry, for example. The feedback we had from the farmers was that actually, you know, particularly when you have the consumers coming directly into the farm, and then they see also this, it's a little bit kind of marketing activity that can really give an added value that is not normally present in organic fruit orchards. So now we would give the floor to Clemence from FiBL, Clemence Boutry, and she will present us something about the black cherry aphids control strategy. Please, Clemence.
Exactly. And I will also use this example to show you the different type of material that we produced within the project. So at the example of the black cherry aphid, which is a major pest in organic cherry production, I will show you the structure of the e-learning course modules for pests and diseases. So they have 3 key elements. First, for each pest and disease, we show you information about this pest or disease, including characteristics, the hosts, the life cycle. Then we show you the symptoms and damage, so you can recognize them in the field. And then we give you monitoring and control management strategies, so you can effectively tackle the problem. So for you that are not familiar with the black cherry aphid, here you have some pictures about the symptoms. So this aphid sucks on the sap of buds and leaves, and it turns to severe curling of the leaves, damaging the tree and the photosynthetic capacity. Also, they release honeydew, on which black sooty mold can grow, again decreasing photosynthetic activity, and also making the fruits unmarketable because of the dirt on them. So the black cherry aphid has as primary host the cherry tree, but it also has secondary hosts, which are the herbaceous plants, to which the aphid flies in summer. So the winged form would fly to the herbaceous host in summer, and in autumn, they fly back onto the cherry tree. They lay their winter eggs on the tree. In spring, the fundatrices emerge from these winter eggs and start to multiply during spring and summer. So you have two key time points where you can monitor the aphid in your orchard. The first one is when they fly back in autumn. So you can turn around the leaves of your cherry tree and see if you can find any winged aphids, as shown on the picture on the bottom right. And later on in autumn, you would not only find winged aphids, but also unwinged aphids that have been laid by this winged aphid. And the second time point is in spring. So you have to do one first control passage in your orchard to see if you can find eggs, and then regularly check on them if you see if they hatched. So you can see they are very tiny compared to a human thumb, and sometimes even before bud break they can already hatch when the temperatures rise. For us in Switzerland, usually it occurs end of April or beginning of March, so pretty early. Now, what can you do against the black cherry aphid? The first step is to implement precautionary measures, which means to have a balanced fertilization and not promote a too heavy growth, because then you have young shoots that are very attractive to the aphids. Second, you can promote beneficials, including hoverflies, as you can see on this picture here, ladybugs, or lacewings. These are all like pretty generalistic predators, or parasitoids that lay their eggs within the aphid. And then you have direct control measures with plant protection products. So one of them is more preventive, which is kaolin. This is a white clay mineral that you can spray in autumn. Here in the picture, you can see a tree without kaolin and one sprayed with kaolin. So it gives a white layer to the leaves and makes them the tree less attractive to the aphids. So when they land on the leaf, I mean, first of all, they don't recognize the tree as well. And when they land, they are caught up in this powder, and the mortality increases, and also the fertility and fecundity of the aphids decreases. Then the second option that you have is in winter, before bud break, that you apply paraffin oil, so a mineral oil, onto the buds and all the wooden parts of the tree to suffocate the eggs. The less eggs you have at the beginning of the year, the less problems you have during the season, because you already start to reduce the starting population. And then further option is in spring that you add, well, a contact insecticide combined with soap to increase the efficiency, or neem oil, which is taken up by the leaves. And when the aphids suck on the leaf, they take up the neem oil and they die from it. But it's rather a long process. So This was the part of the e-learning course. We also summarized the information in practice abstracts. One of them is focused on the direct regulation. So each practice abstract starts with the problem. So the damages that you can have from the black cherry aphid, and then the solution. And here we added a table with the products that you can use for direct regulation, when to apply them, like which phenological stage, and then recommendations for the application. So for example, for the paraffin oil, but also for the kaolin, good application is really key, that you target every side of the buds or the leaves and have a really good coating. Then we did a second practice abstract focused on the indirect regulation with the beneficials. And here we added, for example, a table with these 4 major beneficial categories and when they would occur naturally. So the hoverfly is the one that appears the earliest in the season, so already beginning of March in a high number. The ladybug and the parasitoid wasps, they would start to occur naturally from May on, and the lacewings are later on from June on. Also for you to know when to look for these beneficials. The second page of this practice abstract shows you how do the eggs look like, how do the larvae look like, how does the adults look like. And here you can see the larva of the hoverfly that is eating on the aphids, here the larva of the ladybugs. Here some parasitized aphids, so it's these golden or red or black aphids that change in shape, so they become round. Or here you can see the larvae of the lacewings. And then finally, we also produced 2 videos, so one on the direct regulation and one on the indirect regulation of the black cherry aphid that you can watch on YouTube. You can find all the material on the BIOFRUITNET website, but also on the Organic Farm Knowledge platform. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Clemence. I think that also the video, very nice to see, at least, you know, maybe not in person, but definitely who is also talking today and who can present in very detail, also with a very, I would say, nice way of the video, you know, the different possibilities, which I think were interesting also compared with the previous presentation of Niklas. So when you were mentioning about this beneficial, so how we can also support the presence of the beneficials, giving them some food just to, let's say, establish a bigger population on time when the aphids start to be there present. So the next presentation, which is about the technical, again, a technical aspects, is on again on another aphid. Aphids are a big problem. So please, Markus, the floor is yours, and I think Ilsa will present. Yes. Just Ilsa, I think you need to change only the way it is presented, because we see the first and second floor, the second slide together, if it is possible. If not, don't worry. Let's go ahead. Markus, floor is yours.
Okay.
You can talk, Markus.
Yes, but I'm not able to, let's say...
No, you don't need to share. You don't need to share.
Okay.
It's Ilsa sharing, so you have just to say next.
Yeah. Can you go to the... Okay. The segment at the moment. It's very, very small, so just a moment.
Yes, but you know, I think that she does not have the possibility to show it in this way, so let's go as it is. You just continue talking.
Das hat ja funktioniert davor. Ja. Okay. The next, sorry, because I
So Isa,
cannot see
just
the slides.
Isa,
sorry.
present the slide, please. Yes, good.
Okay.
Markus, you can talk.
The next. Well, I try to summarize, let's say, the situation on the woolly aphid. Can you?
Isa, the presentation just stops. Okay, keep it.
Okay.
shared.
Okay.
Okay, Markus, you just say
okay.
next
Now,
and talk.
Okay. And important are the visual inspections, yeah, because the aphids, you can find the aphids after pruning, and so you can, let's say, estimate what's the situation in the next period. The next. Okay, very important. That's preventive measures are, let's say, the balancing of the growth and the production. So it's to recommend a long pruning and keep, let's say, the crown aerated and do not use, let's say, black hail nets. I think what we have seen is there is a difference between the white nets and the black one. Clear hail net, that's an important, let's say, tool. So, but if you want use a hail net, it's better to use, let's say, it's not so attractive for aphid, for woolly aphids if they are white. Next one. The next one, okay. Clear there are a lot of parasitoids and other insects, useful insects. So it's important to, let's say, sow, let's say, flowers and attractive plants to, let's say, to have to attract the important and useful insects. The next. What we have done in the last years, we try to understand what is the sensitivity of the rootstocks we use at the moment, and also what is the situation with the varieties. We worked in a glass house and inoculated with aphids, with woolly aphids, with repetitions and all. And what we have seen that, for example, the M9, it's quite got a lot of infestation. The Geneva rootstocks, they did not get significant infestation. And the same situation is also on the variety. There are different susceptibilities. The next, please. For example, if you look at the varieties, Fuji, it's normally also in the, let's say, outside in the orchards, very difficult to manage, let's say, for apple woolly aphids. So we can see that it's quite interesting, and that also in these tests we get more or less the same situation. The infestation, it's quite correlated to between the orchards and also between this test we have done in the last years. And I think it's really a good, let's say, tool to get varieties, let's say, which are not so sensitive, and the same use rootstocks which are not so sensitive. I can say that in our region, in this the last years, woolly aphid got more and more difficult to manage. Really a difficult problem. Yes, not only for organic growers, but also for IP producer, apple producer. Yeah. Next, the next one. Direct measures with plant protection products. We do not have a lot. In our trials, this mixture between mineral oil and sulfur is normally the most efficacious. Kaolin, we do not have it until now, let's say, observations until now. Soaps, yes, can be a help. Beauveria bassiana, not, I have to say. I know that in a lot of orchards the last years, they used Beauveria bassiana, naturalis. We tried to, let's say, to compare with this combination between mineral oil and sulfur, and we observed that this Beauveria bassiana, with this pathogenic fungus, it's not really efficacious. Yeah, that's all what I can.
Thank you, Markus. Thank you for the presentation. I think you presented in a way that is a typical, let's say, organic, what should be the organic approach, meaning a kind of holistic approach, so that the preventive measures which are dealing with the selection of the rootstock and the varieties, and then some, let's say, measures that are, let's call it indirect, meaning with the hail or the pruning, which is not really a plant protection measure, arriving at the end as a very end, let's say, the direct measures for the control. And you mentioned also something that sometimes is not so efficient or is not in a low efficacy, like the entomopathogenic fungi you were mentioning, the bassiana. Sometimes it's a problem also with the formulations, also in this case, the correct application, because again, it's should be a different approach. You know very well about that. So, but also for the farmers and advisory to keep this in mind when it comes to these new tools that are available. So biological control in a broader sense, in order to have an effect that is, let's say, comparable or sufficiently efficient as for other kinds of treatments. So we finish, I think, this part which is dealing with the general.
Add something?
Yes, yes,
It's
of
only,
course, Markus.
I think, in this case, let's say these varieties and these rootstocks, they are really high quality varieties, and really the best, let's say, not only for controlling, let's say, the woolly aphids, but also from agronomic or for pomological issues. So I think it's really possible to do. It's not only as, for example, the colleagues say in Novole, yeah, that's another thing, because you can probably use it for crossing with another rootstocks, because we know that Novole is not a good rootstocks for a modern, let's say, orchard, but with Geneva rootstocks and with, as you see, there was also the variety, I forgotten the name, from Washington State, a variety, Cosmic, yes, Cosmic. It's the only variety with a really a strong, we can say a strong, let's say, robustness. So I think it's really interesting. Yes. Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. So from the, let's say, very technical aspects and presentation, we pass to the last presentation from Lorraine, which will show you a little bit about the availability of the technical informations and not only in BIOFRUITNET, but also in the future, because BIOFRUITNET will end, as Marco this morning said at the very beginning in the introduction, but it will go a little bit beyond the end of the project. Lorraine, the floor is yours.
Great. Can you all hear me and see the screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So hello, everyone. I'm Lauren. I'm working at the Research Institute of Organic Agriculture, FiBL, in Switzerland, and I have the pleasure of introducing the Organic Farm Knowledge Platform in relation to this project to you all today. So just a quick overview of what we'll go through quickly in these 10 minutes. I'm going to briefly introduce you to the platform so that we're all on the same page, and then I'll give you an overview of the BIOFRUITNET project on the platform, and then I will highlight some of the most popular BIOFRUITNET tools. So, the Organic Farm Knowledge Platform, well, it's an online platform connecting science and practice. It provides access to a wide range of tools and resources about organic farming with the aim to help improve production, quality, and sustainability of organic farming across Europe. The core of the platform is the toolbox, which provides access to resources for organic farmers and advisors like fact sheets, videos, etc. Many of these tools, as we call them, feature farming innovations coming straight from projects like BIOFRUITNET. The tools cover many different themes, and users can also browse the toolbox using the 6 major themes, as you see highlighted with the blue box. The platform is available in 14 major European languages. Simply change the language using the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner and select your desired language. The platform highlights all new tools and events as a news item on the homepage, as you see here, promoting them also on social media. The platforms we use are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we always tag the projects and the partner institutions that are involved in the publications. We send out a monthly newsletter in English, highlighting new tools, upcoming events, and most popular tools in the last month. Feel free to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter if you're interested. Also of interest is the Organic Advisory Service page under Services. This lists organic advisory services across Europe according to country, and we're always happy to have new inputs, so please have a look and get in touch with us regarding your country. To learn more about the platform, its history, governance, click into the About and find more. The platform is governed and managed with the executive and editorial board, and all information about our previous and current collaborating partners can also be found here. We see the projects which the Organic Farm Knowledge Platform collaborates with, and if we just scroll down a bit, we also see BIOFRUITNET. Here, the project has its own sub website, and all of the information about the project is featured here. Additionally, all BIOFRUITNET tools and translations are being uploaded and promoted on the platform. If we go into Search Toolbox in the upper right, highlighted with the blue box, and click on Search by Project and go into the BIOFRUITNET project, as seen here, we find all the project tools available on Organic Farm Knowledge, which is at a current number of 72. One can utilize further filtering functions to find tools, for example, in your language. So if we click into language, search by language, we can click on French, and we see that there's a total of 13 BIOFRUITNET tools available in the French language. Or maybe you're looking for tools specific to citrus. Then we can search by keyword, for example, and click into citrus. And we see that there's 11 tools available. Or if you're not looking for anything specific, you're just interested to learn more and see what the project tools have to offer, we can just scroll down and browse all of the tools available from the project. So now going into an overview of the BIOFRUITNET tools on organic farm knowledge. So some of the tools are featured in multiple themes. As you can see, there are the 72 total tools that are on the organic farm knowledge currently are all featured within crop production, 11 being in citrus, 27 temperate, and so on, pest and disease, weed management, nutrient management. And the total 72 tools are also featured and categorized under different themes and sub-themes. So here we see the theme environment and society, that we have 25 tools and 3 tools which are categorized under the sub-theme climate change. Here we see an example of a practice abstract, suitable European plum cultivars for organic orchard establishment. It's in English, but it was also translated into Czech and Slovakian. And under the sub-theme biodiversity and nature conservation, there are currently 23 tools. Here is an example of using mason bees for pollination in covered orchards, a practice abstract and a video referring to the same topic. And the video actually has had over 1,500 views over the past 2 years in English and German. So it's pretty, some of the tools are very popular on the platform. The Organic Farm Knowledge platform acts as a great opportunity to further disseminate project outputs and reach target audiences like farmers and organic advisors looking for innovations to implement on their farms. We reach, with the Organic Farm Knowledge platform, an average of about 1,700 visitors per week. And specific to the BIOFRUITNET tools, we've seen about 4,600 page views and 3,600 unique visitors for the current 72 BIOFRUITNET tools. And this is really just on the Organic Farm Knowledge platform. So this is on top of all of the views that are coming from the project website itself. So this is really a great tool to use for practical, ready for practice, easy to use fact sheets, videos, tools to reach your target audience. Here, I just want to highlight the most popular BIOFRUITNET tools on the platform. We can see that the most popular tool, so number 1 was this practice abstract, vibrations to manipulate pest behaviors, new frontier in pest control. It's, yeah, as it says, it's a new frontier. So I think many of the platform's users were very interested in this new approach. It had 303 page views with 211 unique visitors. And the runner-up tool was the video about new ways in organic fruit growing, intelligent covers, and I'm not sure how to say that, Guyot training systems for apple, with 195 page views and 138 unique visitors. Please get in contact with us, visit the website, check us out, follow us on social media. We have also a YouTube channel, and so that you can discover new tools, share it amongst colleagues. And if you want to establish a collaboration with us, like we had with BIOFRUITNET project, please just get in contact with me or with the general email address you see here.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Very nice picture of our last meeting that was in Avignon, where Francois and Clauderic helped organizing it together with some other, which was the occasion actually also to meet some other representatives of other networks, so not really only the members of the BIOFRUITNET consortium. So I think that we can start the discussion. We have some minutes, and I think some very nice questions. For example, questions of Daniel Wright is about which hedgerows species should be avoided to avoid food supply for apple or plum pests. I think that Stine and Niklas could answer, but also anybody else, please. Just turn on the microphone. Stine.
Well, I don't have specific species. It's very, as I also said in the presentation, quite it's regional. So of course it's different here in Denmark than it would be in Italy. So I think you would have to consider what is like locally natively available, or however you can say. I don't know if you have any suggestions, Niklas, for specific species.
No, I would actually agree to you. It's very, very dependent on the different regions. So I would advise to check out the materials which were which were published on the different pages Lauren just presented. Yeah, so.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly. So I think that there are quite a few number of practice abstracts that are dealing with this aspect, so increasing the biodiversity in the orchard, which are dealing with the plums, with the citrus, and with the apples. So these can actually give a quite interesting overview of the different environments and which kind of plants could fit the different also cropping system. If anybody else wants to add anything, I'll go to the second question. So how to quantify whether mixed hedgerows work as a sink or source of natural enemies for the orchard? I think Stine is the most, let's say, experienced person.
Well, that's again quite species dependent, quite local. But what I can say on a general level is that we actually did a study in orchards where we had the design of some apple rows next to hedgerows and some next to flower strips to see what was occurring and what we found in the apple trees. And what we actually found was that these different structures, they promoted some of the same species of predators, but actually also different species. And we found them in the trees. And it also has to do what the orchard can offer, because it actually can offer a lot compared to a hedgerow. If you, for example, consider the flowering time, if there is an early flowering in the hedgerow, that sort of end, and then you see this wonderful flowering in the orchard, it's quite attractive to these predators. So it's likely that it's more of that it work as a source of natural enemies into the orchards, in my opinion.
Yes.
In terms of quantifying it, if I can add.
Yes, how to quantify? Yes, I think this was the question, but I think it's there are some methods, you know, with different entomological methods, no?
Yeah, so what we usually do is do different methods, but the most simple is to go around and visually observe. And that can be a little bit, where do I look? But one way to go about it is actually to go and look in, find aphid colonies, these usually curled leaves, if it's the rosy apple aphid, and then look into the colonies and see, do I have predators present or any kind of natural enemy here? That's quite a good measure, in my opinion, to get an idea of if you have these in your orchards.
I can say that, Niklas, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I just add a short comment. I previously presented or mentioned this catalog of different measurements to enhance biodiversity in orchards, which was linked in the chat by me before. And there's also an overview on different measures, including the hedges and the anchor plants, where you can see what kind of impact or how high the impact of this measure is in the orchard. This was research for 6 years as well. So if you go to that document, unfortunately it's only in German, but if you use DeepL or something, you can there check for at least Central Europe or for this German example what the impact can be.
Thank you, Niklas. I can say from my side that actually we have carried out several projects with these living mulches, and actually using them also like let's say flower strips within the orchard. And there is an increase actually. We use the usual, let's say, entomological methods to collect the whatever it is flying on the flowers or on the tree. And there is actually an increase in the, maybe not in the number, but sometimes in the let's say number of groups that can be found if we have the living mulches. I just add that with Stine we will start in the next few days, I would say, a new project where we are testing a new method to assess. It's a method which is very much linked to what Vincenzo presented about this vibrational method. This is not for pest, let's say, control. It is only for assessing the biodiversity within a system. It's also based on sounds. It's so we will tell you something in the near future about that. So it's a question specifically to Clemence, whether there is a forecast model or a specific trap for the reflight in autumn of the aphid that you were presenting, and in case of the kaolin application, so to allow, let's say, to the precisely planned application of kaolin.
So there is no forecast model yet. This would be a task for the regional advisory services to mention or notify the farmers in the region when to spray. So in Switzerland, to give you an idea, the return flight usually occurs end of September. And yeah, depending on where you are, it could be earlier or later. And I'm talking about cherries, because for apricots or plums, it can also be shifted for the specific aphids occurring on these crops. So as soon as you see the first winged one on the trees, you should start to spray kaolin to protect the trees. And you have to repeat the treatment once it's completely washed off by rain until the end of leaf fall. But also please check before you spray kaolin if it's actually authorized in your country.
Thank you, Clemence.
If I may add something, Eligio?
Yes, Vincenzo, yes, please.
Of course, Clemence said the right things. I remember that we did a lot of trials on olive trees against the olive fruit fly. Considering that is not the efficacy of the treatment in questionable, but is the presence, absence, or the difficult monitoring system that you can act on olive fruit fly, it works. At the moment, but is a totally different topic, is one of the two authorized products, but not as a pesticide, of course, but as a repellent on another kind of problem with Xylella fastidiosa. Of course, nothing deals with the bacteria, but deals with the vector of Xylella in terms to prevent the spreading of them around the organic fields, always dealing with olives, or unfortunately seems even recently with citrus. So kaolin is a very promising strategy, but there is a monitoring to be assessed before, and the efficacy depends not only on heavy rainfalls, but depends even on the quality, if I may, of the oil coverage that you can obtain using the atomizer, because not always it works perfectly. I don't know if Clemence is saying yes. So I think that she agrees on this.
And there is also there are differences in product formulation. Some
Of course,
are better.
adhesives are quite important as well because okay, but we go in details. I don't think it's so necessary.
As usual, formulation, application methods, and all these things are all factors that can impact. There is a question, I think it is to Markus. I mean, it's about, or maybe also to all of you, I would say, because it's a colleague probably from the Netherlands or that area. From the name, it seems to me that there are growing divergences in stakes interests between the organic intensive and organic extensive, as illustrated by the aphid issue. What is your opinion?
I have something to say about this. I didn't mention it, but aphids are a problem, especially in covered organic table cherry orchards. So it's actually a secondary pest. You wouldn't have these problems with a high stem cherry tree, non-protected. There you have other problems like Drosophila and cherry fruit fly, which you avoid in the covered and netted orchards. When you do this, you change the microclimate and you actually promote the aphids. So this is the balance. So yeah, you want growth and vigorous trees, maybe for extensive systems, but for intensive systems, you might want to stabilize the tree.
Thank you. And last, I think, but not the least, question to Markus, which is the Deccan of organic apple production, I think, in the at least northern part of Europe. Do you have any idea why black haylnets cause more problems than white haylnets for the presence of the woolly aphid? Turn on only the microphone. Why black is worse than white haylnet? Turn on the microphone. We don't hear you, Markus. Because does not know where to click. I think I don't know. Is anybody have an idea to how to answer while Markus will turn on the microphone? Nobody of you amongst Niklas?
Problems in terms of pest infestation, or in what kind of problems?
Yes. Markus was mentioning about
the woolly
difference
apple aphid.
in woolly aphid.
Ah, the woolly one, yeah.
Yes.
I don't have an answer on that right now, sorry. Northern Germany and haylnets are not too commonly used here so far.
You know, I think it's a problem of shadow. You know, that could be this aspect, because maybe it's a little bit more shadowy under the black than with the white. That's in general. Probably
might have a little more temperature as well.
Shouldn't be like that, because or can also be, yes, of course, can be. It's a difference in the temperature, but not necessarily under the black is let's say higher temperature than under the white, and not always is this case.
Well,
he wrote that black nets may also have strong physiological effects. This is actually the case, so it's related
on a
with
complete different, if I may, Eligio, on a complete different crop, both two crops, I should say. One is citrus, and the other one is organic table grapes here in the southern part of Europe. We have a study on the net coverture for ales, and not only, even for creating a sort of greenhouse on the color of them. And of course, the black color is not so much because it creates another pressure of temperature and humidity under the coverage. And so it's not important just the color if you don't want. But sometimes if you don't have coverage, we have even problems of eating too much the fruit, the finished fruit. So this is another big problem that unfortunately in the southern part of Europe, we have an excess of sunlight, and this can create with this kind of coverage against the AL some problem of black spots or whatever on the fruits.
Thank you, Vincenzo. I don't know if there are any other questions. I don't know if any other of you wants to say anything else to add to that. What have been so I think that the meeting and the seminar, I can say from the point of view of the participants that were registered and that really participated, and from the point of view of the whole project that has the possibility to present, I mean, the different materials that the project has prepared and the different partners have contributed to. And I think very interesting to me was also that I just recognized today about the technical presentations actually that were dealing with all the aspects that we have been considered and were considered most interesting from the practitioner's point of view when it comes to the problems that are affecting organic fruit orchards. So we dealt with protection a lot. We dealt with some orchard management, with the biodiversity management, and also with the impact of the variety selection or the rootstock selection on the different aspects that are related to the production of the fruit. So I think that we can close here. I hope you enjoyed, and we wish you to continue following us on the website and our social media, and in the future also on the Organic Farm Knowledge website. Thank you very much, and keep in touch, networking all together in the future. Lorraine, she wants to say something. Just say bye. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
So
Ciao, ciao.